Welcome back to this series. This is the fourth lecture of the second week. The emergence of development of prose in the early Islamic period constitutes something very much significant in the history of Arabic language and literature, because of a historically very significant epoch or a stage related to Arabia in the context of language. We can recollect that in the pre-Islamic Arabia, the poetry happened to be the diwan of Arabs, Ash'ar diwan al-Arab. It dominated the literary scene of Arabian peoples, and it was so powerful, so beautiful, so relevant, cutting across times and say linguistic cultures assimilated within the framework of Islam, of course, that it is still relevant and serves as the ground on which the poetic discourse in terms of language is founded. So, poetry was like that, Ash'ar diwan al-Arab. We have seen that prose, contrary to that, prose appeared to be less significant, less developed. Although from a theoretical point of view, when we look at the development of any literary discourse in any language, usually you find that poetry comes first. The beginnings are always in the form of poetry. There are some sociological, historical, geographical interpretation of this, justification of this, usually discussed by the linguists, by the philosophers of language. How the domain of rhyming, that is poetry, is closer to human emotions, especially in the primitive periods, in the early formative periods. So, and the later things gets shadowed by this. But again, the another thing that is significant is that when it comes to preserving the literary texts or the legacy, in the backdrop of Arabia and in relation to the issues or the debates of the sources and resources and means of preserving the things, as Arabia was not was actually lagging behind compared to the other nations, other cultures, other civilizations in the domain of reading and writing or preserving the legacy. Because for preserving the legacy, the society must have the sources and resources. And in the backdrop of the Arab geography and sociology, things happen to be problematic. The scenario, that's why the scenario is not very much encouraging. So the focal point was the collective memory. They memorized the things. Things were transmitted from one generation to another through collective memory. الذاكرة لعبت دورا مهما جدا، دورا رئيسا في نقل التراث الشعر وغيره من جيل إلى جيل، خاصة في العصر الجاهلي، حيث قلت وسائل التسجيل، تسجيل التراث، حفظ التراث. فهذا هو السبب في تأخر النثر من الشعر. This is one reason why prose lagged behind poetry in Arabia, especially in Arabia. But again, we're finding that in early Islamic period, that is, with the advent of Islam, we find the situation changing. Things changed with the advent of Islam, because Quran was in prose, Hadith was in prose, and all the sciences related to, all the arts related to, all the disciplines related to the Quranic themes, the Quran as a primary theme, they emerged out of in this sequence. So جمع القرآن على حديث النبوية الشريفة، تفسير ابن عباس، صحيفة علي بن أبي طلحة عن ابن عباس، هي من أشهر نماذج النثر في العصر الإسلامي. So the Musaf of Quran, which will be having some glimpses of that, al-Ahadith al-Nabawiyya Sharifa, which were codified at a later stage, and Tafsir ibn Abbas, Sahifa Ali ibn Abi Talha an ibn Abbas. These are the examples. The second example is that of Ar-Rasail, the correspondence. Prophet Muhammad sent letters to Muqawqis, the Roman emperor, the Najashi of Ethiopia, Kisra Anushirwan of Persia, and others. The Khulafa Rashidin wrote letters to the commanders of the army, generals, commanders of the army, governors. Besides that, there was the Diwan al-Jund that was founded by Umar al-Khattab. And as Ibn Miskawayh says, كان عمر أول من دون الدواوين من العرب. Umar was the first who established this diwan, something like a secretariat, registry of things, especially of the Jund, that is the army, their names, positions, where they are deployed, salaries, etc. So this plays very a significant role in preserving and fostering the legacy of prose in early Islamic period. As it is well known that Quran was not codified, it was not collected in a volume, in a single volume, fully, completely, during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Although we have generations of hundreds of companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who had memorized the whole Quran, so Quran was well preserved in their hearts. So it constituted a formidable, a very powerful oral tradition. Just like, although very much different in terms of in magnitude, some parallel with the oral traditions we find in the pre-Islamic period. So it was Hazrat Uthman who ordered, Uthman ibn Affan, the Nurain of the Allah Ta'ala, who ordered collection of the Holy Quran, and 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5, it has been said, nusakh or versions were prepared, sending to different places. So Mustafa Osman is, as per the historical narratives, while Hazrat Usman was reciting the Holy Quran, he was assassinated. The Mustafa Osman, there are two versions still surviving, which are referred to as Musaf Uthman. The first is that is found in Topkapi manuscript in Topkapi Palace Museum in Istanbul. The reference number is 32, HS 32. It is written in parchment. And the second is the Tashkent manuscript, which is said to be, as per the historical deliberations, the same version which was sent to Damascus and which was brought to Tashkent by Tamerlane, Amir Taimur. So these are some folios of the Tashkent version, Nuskha of the Holy Quran. When you visit the museum, we find that over there. I have seen, during my visit, I have seen this manuscript. Besides that manuscript, that is the manuscript of Topkapi Palace. The significant thing is that this version has been printed. The facsimile version of that has been printed. We have examples of these legacies are well recorded in history. So in Kutub Ahadith, in Kutub Sirah, we'll be finding all these texts and legacy of prose related to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But the thing is that some of them still remained in the manuscript forms, like the letter of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to Muqawqis Azim al-Qibt. You can have a glimpse of this. It's over there. Hiraql Azim al-Rum, this one. Hiraql Azim al-Rum, as it has been mentioned over here. Here it is, Azim al-Rum. Alongside, we have the sermons delivered by Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Khutabun Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, especially in the Khutbah Hajjat al-Wada, the sermon delivered by him on the occasion of Hajjat al-Wada. The sermons, speeches delivered by Khulafa Rashidin, Abu Bakr, Umar, Ali, radiyallahu anhum. Hazrat Ali's sermons were later codified, collected by Sharif Razi, the famous Abbasid poet and man of letters, who died in year 1015. It contains of 238 khutbah, 79 risala, and 480 qawl, that is sayings, short, brief sayings. Alongside the khutab by Hasan ibn Yasar al-Basri, popularly known as Hasan Basri, among the Sufis, the early Sufis in the history of Islam. Wasil ibn Ata, among people who are related to a certain theological, intellectual schism in the history of Islam, like the Qadrites, the Jabrites, the Khawarij, the Mu'tazilites, alongside Ahnaf ibn Qais, who died in year 687. Khutbat Hajjat al-Wada, very significant. Kha is to be, it should be corrected like that. It's part of any hadith, collection of hadith. خطوات أبي بكر الصديق أما بعد أيها الناس فإني قد وليت عليكم ولست بخيركم فإن أحسنت فأعينوني وإن أسأت فقوموني الصدق أمانة والكذب خيانة والضعيف فيكم قوي عندي حتى أرد له حقه إن شاء الله والقوي فيكم ضعيف عندي حتى أخذ الحق منه إن شاء الله. So this is a specimen of the khutbah delivered by Hazrat Ali. A simple look at the language of this khutbah and the very content we'll be having in this khutbah is sufficient to illustrate the very characteristics of Hazrat Abu Bakr and his instances, himself as the head of the state, if we use this word. He says that فَإِنِّي قَدْ وُلِّيتُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَسْتُ بِخَيْرِكُمْ. The whole lecture or the whole sermon or khutbah depicts him as a person who believes in democracy, who is very humble. He believes in democracy. He doesn't seem to be someone who loves his authority, enjoys his authority, or is very much authoritative or dictatorial in his style. He says, فَإِنْ أَحْسَنْتُ فَعِينُونِي. If my behavior is good, if I follow the right path, then I seek your assistance, your cooperation. وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُ فَقَوِّمُونِي. But if I'm mistaken, if I go astray, then you must be making me just be stating me. قَوِّمُونِي. So this is something unique, representative of the character of and characteristics of Hazrat Abu Bakr as a caliph. Again, the khutbah of Hazrat Umar, أيها الناس استغفروا ربكم إنه كان غفارا اللهم إني أستغفرك وأتوب إليك اللهم إنا نتقرب إليك بعم نبيك وبقية آبائه وكبار رجاله, and like that. So this again depicts his characteristics as a ruler, as the caliph of the Muslim Ummah at the time. هذه الخطبة أيضا يعني تمثل شخصية عمر في سياق نظرته ودوره في المجتمع كخليفة للمسلمين. أحنف بن قيس was a very prominent person from Basra and Iraq. His sermon is also well known and has been quoted by the historical sources like Al-Jahiz in his Al-Bayan wa Tabeen, volume number 2, page number 92. Misaqul Medina is again a recorded prose among the early segments of prose we have in Arabic, Misaqul Medina. It was written in the year 622 when Prophet Muhammad went to Medina. Medina had a troubling societal atmosphere at the time, where there were fightings between different tribes of Medina, the Arab tribes of Medina, the pagan tribes of Medina, and those belonging to Judaism, the Jewish tribes. So Prophet Muhammad when migrated over there with the Muslims, with the Muhajirin, he entered into something like an alliance with, and the text of which is known as Misaqul Medina. So this is again something very significant. It has been translated into various languages of the world, and Professor Hamidullah has discovered the manuscripts of Misaqul Medina, and it has been published. Another significant text in prose is Sahifa Hammam ibn Munabbih. It is among the earliest, rather the earliest segment of collection of hadith, compendium of hadith, based on Sahifat Abi Hurairah radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Hammam ibn Munabbih was a disciple of Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. It consists of around 140 hadith. It has been the manuscripts in Maktaba al-Zahiriya in Damascus and in the Berlin Library. Professor Hamidullah has edited these manuscripts and published the book. So, in the backdrop, when we'll be having all these examples of the text we're having, like the prose text, like Sahifatu Hammam ibn Murabbih, Misaqul Medina, then Khutab, representing Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Khulafa Rashidin, and others. Nahjul Balagha, which was codified, collected at a later stage of time. The Risale of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to the rulers and the chiefs of several tribes, Arab tribes, Musaf Osman, etc. These constitute the legacy that we are having in the domain of prose in the early Islamic period. These texts served as the basic points of references for the later developments, both in the domain of religious sciences as well as other sciences, other disciplines that took place during the Umayyad times and the Abbasid period, which represents as the paragon time of paragon period of the Arab history of culture, sciences, language, literature, poetry, etc. With this, we conclude this lecture. Thank you.